Hi everyone, welcome to Enjoy English. I'm Steven.
I'm Anthony.
Today's date is September 3rd. We're looking at pages 10 to 13, once again under features, and the title is The Ig Nobel Prize, Discover the Fun Side of Science.
Yeah, 我们今天要继续介绍昨天介绍过的这个搞笑诺贝尔奖。我们昨天就说那个9月3号就在今天，呢，那个搞笑诺贝尔奖2026年就开始。在这个瑞士的苏黎世开始颁奖了，所以各位，如果你有兴趣的话，你如果看到这个节目已经是在9月3号之后了，你不妨可以去上网看一下回放。我们昨天简单的介绍一下搞笑诺贝尔奖，它本身它可能每年在9月的时候，它会有10个颁奖的项目，然后它的目的是希望大家开始对这个科学产生兴趣，甚至进一步的去启发后续的研究。那看似可是刚开始觉得好好笑好好玩，但是背后呢却有实质的意义。那我们今天要讲更多很细节的一些得奖的这些得主，他们做了些什么研究。
All right, let's get started.
The Ig Nobel Prize. Discover the fun side of science. Winners of the Ig Nobel Prize often study topics that seem silly at first. However, these studies are real scientific research, and many of them offer valuable knowledge. For example, the 2025 Ig Nobel Biology Prize recognized a study showing that painting cows with zebra-like stripes can reduce fly bites. This unusual idea helps farmers protect their animals without using too many pesticides. For cows, this method can lower the risk of disease and improve the animal's health. Other winning studies have explored unusual topics as well. One study winning the Nutrition Prize examined what types of pizza lizards prefer to eat. Another study investigated why wombats produce cube-shaped droppings. Researchers also looked at what a nursing baby experiences when the mother eats garlic. These examples show that even the strangest ideas can lead to meaningful discoveries. The Ig Nobel Prize encourages scientists to think creatively and explore unusual questions. It also reminds us that science can be both fun and useful. At the same time, it shows that curiosity can open the door to new understanding.
Winners of the Ig Nobel Prize often study topics that seem silly at first.
好，我们来看第一段第一句话Winners of the Ig Nobel Prize often study topics that seem silly at first. At first 我们昨天有提过就是起初看起来怎样，后面会发现到是一个相反的状况。那在这个地方他就说了，搞笑诺贝尔奖的这种得奖者呢，常常会研究一些乍看之下看起来有点傻傻的搞笑的这种主题。
Yeah, but yesterday, at first, like whatever was said afterwards was in the same sentence. So you actually do have the option to start a new sentence, but make sure the sentence that follows does kind of give like the information that follows the at first. Because some people might use at first and then they will try to say other things and then they'll say like, what was the other thing they were going to convey. But that might confuse readers or listeners because they're waiting for the other part of the at first.
Yeah.
So make sure whatever comes after has to really make sense to kind of be a callback for at first.
没错。
Okay? However, these studies are real scientific research, and many of them offer valuable knowledge.
好，他就告诉你说 however 好，然而呢 these studies are real scientific research. 这些研究看起来很愚蠢，但事实上它都是真正这种不是搞笑的，是科学的研究。然后呢 and many of them offer valuable knowledge. Valuable 就是指宝贵的知识。我举一个例子就好了。2000年的搞笑诺贝尔奖的得主呢，他叫做 Andrew Geim。好，他研究的这个主题是，他要研究这个悬浮的青蛙，他用这种磁力学去让那个青蛙悬浮。 然后到后来他这个研究背后到2010年的时候，真正到后来在这研究这种电磁学嘛，他就发现了那种 graphene 就是石墨烯，它在电磁学上的运用。所以你会发现到说，其实事实上这个看似搞笑，但它其实是专业的领域，然后这个领域有可能启发真正可以得到诺贝尔奖的东西。
Yes, and this information, even though the study itself might have some silly elements, but the information could be very valuable.
没错，
Right?
真的就是这样。
很有价值的。
对。
All right, let's take a short break. For example, the 2025 Ig Nobel Biology Prize recognized a study showing that painting cows with zebra-like stripes can reduce fly bites.
好，那接下来还要举一个实际的例子哦，我非常喜欢这一段的这个例子哦。For example, the 2025 Ig Nobel Biology Prize， 好，在2025年搞笑诺贝尔生物学奖 recognized a study showing that that painting cows with zebra-like stripes can reduce fly bites。他就说了，好，原来在这个牛身上涂上类似像斑马的条纹，居然可以减少这个蝇类的叮咬。他说哇，所以你把那个牛把它弄成像斑马样子，它就可以比较不会被咬哦。听起来好像很搞笑，但是后面就告诉你说，那它实质上面对这个牛、对这个环境生态上有什么样的帮助？我们看到这个地方 recognize 这个字，也是在表彰表扬的意思。我们在 Day 1的时候学到 honors、celebrate 这样的字词汇，也都可以这样去交互的运用。
You could also use the verb acknowledge, okay? The Ig Nobel Biology Prize acknowledged a study, okay? It's just kind of saying that they see it and they kind of give it the credit or the honors that it deserves, okay?
没错。
And this shows that zebra-like stripes. So here we have 相似斑马, the stripes, okay? So it's an adjective, zebra-like. And reduce, it just is another word to say decrease or lessen. 这个 lesson 不是课题的那个 L-E-S-S-O-N, 是 L-E-S-S-E-N. Okay, but it's kind of pronounced the same.
没错。
So I think there's a theory, because a lot of times people question, why are zebras black and white? But they're in Africa. Like usually an animal will try to evolve to kind of fit the environment around it so it won't be eaten. And since the zebra is one that is going to be more considered a prey than predator, so one of the scientific research like hypotheses is that zebras are black and white because that will help kind of monitor their heat. Yeah, so if they were completely black, then it would be very hot, right? The fur would be very hot. But if it's completely white, maybe it would be too obvious on a plain in Africa. So black and white will help moderate the heat. So I think that's why they use the same concept on cows. So then it will reduce the heat. And sometimes they say flies will usually go to things that have a higher heat.
原来如此。所以老师就提到说，事实上呢，他提到这个斑马的这个条纹，那很多时候生物在为了适应环境，它会有演化的这个效果。所以说，今天斑马如果在类似像是非洲大草原上面，往往是被当作是那个 prey， 好，就是猎物，而不是 predator， 是掠食者。所以他们一方面要保护自己。那如果全部都白色的话呢，它很容易就被发现了。但如果全部都黑色的话，它那个调节体温的功能又会很辛苦。所以到后来就变成是黑白相间的这种方式。所以说在这个地方，老师也提到说，说不定它这个牛它如果说是黑白相间的话，那到后来就变成是在调节体温上面可能会有一点点帮助。那样子的话呢，这个蚊虫在叮咬的时候，它们通常会咬体温比较高的这样子的这个牛类。所以在这里的话，说不定会派上用场。
But that is just a hypothesis.
不过只是假设而已。
假设 hypothesis, hypothesis. It's an educated guess that you make before you have the scientific evidence to back it up. Okay?
没错。
This unusual idea helps farmers protect their animals without using too many pesticides.
好，这里面有一个重要的字汇叫 pesticides。那个 pest P-E-S-T， 我需要你帮我把它框起来。P-E-S-T 就是害虫的意思。如果说今天有一个人 假如你弟好了哈，每天跟屁虫很烦了，然后中不来闹你啊，你可以说 he's a pest， 就知道这是这个好讨厌，小讨厌哈，那种很烦的。但是 pesticides 这个后面的 size 那个CIDE 就是有杀的意思，所以在这里的话 pesticide 就是杀虫剂。好，你可以稍微知道一下它的字根，所以他就告诉你说了 this unusual idea 这样子的一个非比寻常的想法呢 helps farmers protect their animals without using too many pesticides 在不用太多杀虫剂去影响环境生态的情况下，也能够让这些农夫可以保护他们的牲畜。
For cows, this method can lower the risk of disease and improve the animal's health.
好，所以刚才他讲说农夫可以保护这些牲畜，对不对？对于这些牛来说呢 ，for cows, this method 这个方法 method 就是方法的意思 ，can lower the risk of disease， 居然可以降低他们患病的这种风险。Lower the risk of something， 好，就是降低什么东西的风险 ，and improve the animal's health， 就能够提升他们的健康状况。
So here we see lower. Earlier we saw reduce, and I also mentioned the other two verbs, decrease and lessen. So we have 4 different verbs that can mean the same thing, which is just to 降低一个东西. So it's always good to learn synonyms or words with the same meaning. So you can always have a little bit of variety in your writing or when you're speaking. So it's always good to learn these different words. Right?
没错。所以在这里面，老师提到的 synonym 就是指同义词的意思。我们慢慢把这些 reduce, lessen 好这些字慢慢把它装在一起，之后要换字的时候都好方便。
Exactly. All right, let's take a short break. Other winning studies have explored unusual topics as well.
好，接下来这一段也是有其他的这些例子哦。Other winning studies 还有其他一些获奖的研究呢 have explored unusual topics. Explore 这个字我很爱哦，就是指去探索，试着去探究、探讨，都可以用这个 explore 这个字来表达，探讨一些其他 unusual topics 不寻常的一些课题哦。
And as well is usually at the end of a sentence. And it's just another way to say also. But also usually doesn't need to be at the end of the sentence. It can be in the middle of a sentence, whereas as well cannot be in the middle of a sentence. Okay? So you could say, other winning studies have also explored unusual topics and have a period there. But some people also combine these two. They'll say, other winning studies have also explored unusual topics as well. That's also correct.
没错。
Okay? One study winning the nutrition prize examined what types of pizza lizards prefer to eat.
OK， 他就提到说，其中一个 one study 好 winning the nutrition prize，nutrition 就是营养，好就是营养 ，the nutrition prize 就是营养学的这个奖项哦。其中一个获得营养学奖项的研究呢，它研究的是什么呢 ？Examined what types of pizza lizards prefer to eat。到底蜥蜴呢更喜欢吃哪一种披萨？我想说，我从来没有想过这种问题耶，好，非常非常可爱哦。所以这边除了用 examine 之外，这边有几个字还蛮重要，就是当你要去研究某个学科的时候，我们刚刚在前面那句话学到了 explore 这个字，在这边的话又学到了 examine 这个字，对不对？好，它都用过去式，因为都是讲到以前做过的这些研究。那我们后面再下一句话还会学到一个重要的动词哦。
Yes. And examine, you could also use the verb study, right? And then I think it just means to closely observe something over a period of time to gather evidence. Okay, so also another verb here is prefer to do something. 就偏会怎么样去做什么事情. Okay? Another study investigated why wombats produce cube-shaped droppings.
好，所以在这边我们看到另外一个 another study investigated， 好，指的就是去调查了。你可以用 looked into， 好，用这种方式，用片语的方式也可以。Why wombats produce cube-shaped droppings？ 好，这个为什么袋熊？澳洲有一种熊叫做袋熊，它们拉出来的那个大便呢是方形的。好，很像我们吃的那种布朗尼的那种状况。所以大家听的时候发现，以后再也不吃布朗尼了。OK， 在这边他提到这个研究呢，刚好是我们台湾 台湾的这个研究员哦，他们是胡立德教授跟杨佩良博士，在2019年的时候，他们去研究说，到底为什么袋熊会拉出方形的大便？他们之前有考虑过说，会不会是他们的肛门是方形的？结果不是，好像是因为他们
It's a myth, yeah.
他们的肠道的关系哦。但是他们其实就会去讲到说，为什么会有这样？会提出一个有趣的问题，然后慢慢去探讨中间的过程。这个 droppings 就是他们的便便。
因为你可以想象动物在野外的时候，它们大便它是不一定会坐着，它只是直接从屁股这样掉下来，所以也许就是因为这样子叫 droppings
啊，也是，
就是可以去把这个字去想象为什么会有这个名称。那当然也有其他的一些名称讲大便，比如说 poop P-O-O-P， 还是我们昨天提到 P-O-O， right？ 那 feces 也是一个比较 scientifically 可以接受的 F-E-C-E-S feces. These are all acceptable for the word 大便 for poop. And also I looked into the study. It said one of the hypotheses about why they have cube-shaped droppings is because wombats usually are on they're climbing trees or climbing rocks. Sometimes though, because wombats can't call their family and their friends, they have to kind of leave evidence of where they are so that their family and friends can come find them, and they use their poop to kind of share information about where they are. But because they're on trees and on rocks, if their poop was round, like most animals, it would roll off the rocks. And so that's why it's cube-shaped. You have to think about an evolution standpoints. They're using the poop comes out cube-shaped, so it won't roll off.
OK， 所以说有时候他爬树啦或干嘛，他如果说就是拉出一些大便之后，他用这种方式去标记，他说他所在的位置，有点像是那个 Google Map 说GPS 那种定位，有没有？说我妈知道我在这边，因为我的大便在这个地方。但如果你大之后，如果是圆形的，它会到处乱滚。所以如果是方形，它比较不会乱滚，这样的话那个 GPS 定位才会准，妈妈才找得到你。这样的感觉。
It's interesting. And just quick thing is I found it so interesting. Like their intestines are not like human intestines. They have parts in their intestines that are very hard and rigid. R-I-G-I-D 比较硬的。So that's how the cube shape is formed. And then the other parts of the intestines, it'll move along to the next hard part, and then it'll come out a cube shape.
原来如此。所以说在这 intestine 就是指内脏，它的这个肠道里面呢，它如果说今天有一些地方是比较硬的，它别人经过的时候就会有棱有角，然后经过一段之后，又下一段又一段比较硬的，所以出来之后就会变成一个有棱有角的方形了。
It's so crazy how nature works.
好酷哦。
Researchers also looked at what a nursing baby experiences when the mother eats garlic.
好，那另外一个很有趣的研究是，他就说 researchers also looked at 就是研究 what a nursing baby experiences. 这个 nursing baby 就是正在哺乳的这个小 baby 他会经历到什么 when the mother eats garlic. 他如果吃了大蒜之后，哺乳的婴儿会不会觉得，今天的奶味道好像不太一样，或者是说，这会不会有什么一些变化？所以他研究这个主题，我觉得其实都还蛮奥妙的。
So when you say something is nursing, because it could be an animal or it could be a baby, it just means an infant or a baby that is actively still feeding on the breast milk of a mother.
没错，还在喝母乳的小 baby.
Yes. All right, let's take a short break. These examples show that even the strangest ideas can lead to meaningful discoveries.
好，我们在最后一段的第一句话，我们看到他说 these examples， 刚刚前面提到好多的这种例子嘛，对不对 ？Show that even the strangest ideas， 最奇怪的这些想法呢，都能够怎么样？就算是最奇怪的想法 ，can lead to meaningful discoveries， 能够带来意义深远的这种发现。你可以发现到，我以前没有想过这个问题。
所以那个 can lead to， 你可以想象是 A 这件事情可以导致还是可以引导我们怎么样？Okay, can lead to meaningful discoveries， 它可以指导还是带领我们发现很有意义的一些 discoveries， 一些发现。And then show in this sentence, I think you could also use the word demonstrate.
Demonstrate.
D-E-M-O-N-S-T-R-A-T-E. Demonstrate. That in Chinese is
就是展示。
The Ig Nobel Prize encourages scientists to think creatively and explore unusual questions.
好，所以他告诉我们说 ，The Ig Nobel Prize 这种搞笑诺贝尔奖呢 ，encourages scientists。我们昨天有提到这个 scientific research， 对不对？那是形容词，在这边的话 ，scientists 就是科学家的意思。To think creatively， 创意的思考 ，and explore， 好，我们刚刚前面碰过这个字，还试着去探究 unusual questions， 那种比较非比寻常的一些问题。
It also reminds us that science can be both fun and useful.
It also reminds us， 就是能够提醒我们大家 ，remind 这个字可以先接人，再接 that 子句，或者是 remind me of something，of 这个介系词，然后后面接名词。在这边的话，我们看到的是 it also reminds us that， 这个 that 就是接子句的那个用法。Science can be both fun and useful。好，其实事实上呢，这个科学呢是可以很好玩，然后呢，而且很实用的。
So this both, you could take that out of the sentence, but a lot of times when we're trying to say it has two different elements, we'll use both to emphasize that both of these elements are part of what we're talking about. Okay, so we're saying that science is both fun and useful. Also, Anthony 老师刚刚有提到 remind someone of something, like, oh, you remind me of my friend from back home.
就变成说，你倒是让我想起了我以前的好朋友。好，在这种情况下，你可以说 remind someone of something.
Yeah, so that's just the grammar to pay attention to if you use OF. At the same time, it shows that curiosity can open the door to new understanding.
好，最后呢还告诉你说 at the same time 就是 meanwhile 这样的意思。同时呢 it shows that 好，他就说也能够展现出 curiosity can open the door to new understanding。好，在这边的话 open the door to something 就是开启什么什么大门，让我们有机会见识到、接触到什么什么东西。New understanding 就是新的看法、新的认知，对于某件事情的新的了解。
I think I've also seen open the window, right? Right? You can also say open the window. And it doesn't really have a different meaning. It just means it can be open the window to new understandings or new opportunities or open the door.
没错。
Okay. And here at the same time, if you do use this, just like Anthony Lausis said, meanwhile, make sure that the sentence before is talking about a situation and this is something that can happen at the same time because you have to kind of pay attention. Like I said earlier, sometimes people try to put in too much information in between, but transitions have to be transitions. They have to be something that is very clearly connecting to the idea before or after. So that's something to really pay attention to in your own writing.
没有错。
Okay, so hopefully you guys learned a lot about the Ig Nobel Prize because I never knew about this before today's lesson, but all the scientific research that they do, I feel like is very interesting.
Yeah.
I used to be a biology major.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, I know nothing, but I think a lot of times that's what science is. You know nothing. You have to just keep being curious and learning these things and having hypothesis or different hypotheses about these situations. And I think that's what makes science so fun and useful.
没错，所以呢，老师呢他自己以前也是这种生物相关的这种主修，然后很多时候任何的研究都是始于完全都不知道，什么都不晓得，然后慢慢探究出一块原来没有发现的新大陆。
Yeah, so stay curious and keep learning. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.